Welcome to the Phoenix Unscripted. This is a sacred space between seasons. Here you'll get unplanned, unpolished reflections from my real life. We aren't teaching or fixing anything here, just sitting with truth and being with our hearts and our bodies together. So settle in, take a breath as we sit beside the fire and reflect. Well, I'm driving. I got a long drive ahead of me. I feel like I want to use this time to talk. I feel like I got a lot of things swirling around in my head. There's a lot of excitement and a lot of wanting to just do things. And then there's a lot of fear and doubt. Maybe it's not quite fear. Maybe it's doubt. Doubt, I feel like, is fear's little sister. And what's really interesting, I mean, Asen and I went and saw Inside Out 2 this week, and in the movie, it's the movie's kind of main character in this particular one was anxiety, and anxiety was kind of changing the game a little bit for Riley and affecting her with these little teeny tiny little thoughts. And that was the thing about anxiety, is it just kind of, one little thing after another that she was changing about who she was to fit in and to be liked and to be accepted by these older, cool girls, right? She left her friends standing outside, and she dissed her favorite band and just kind of went with the flow. And even though these girls, right, these older girls they weren't bad, they weren't doing, illegal things. It was nothing like that. It was just, they were older. And so, maybe they had different tastes or whatever. And in order for her to feel like she could belong, she had to just drop parts of who she was. And that kind of solidified little beliefs inside of her that, oh, if I just change this one little thing, then they'll like me. Or if I do all the goals, oh, I beat her record, then I'll get on the team, obviously. And then, that ended up her not playing hockey like she usually does. She's very much a team player and loves the sport. And instead she, became anxious and, was working herself really, really hard and over the top, and not giving herself the space to enjoy something that she had, usually very much enjoyed. And it was like that moment that all those anxiety beliefs took root, and there was enough of them. Suddenly there was this core belief that she wasn't good enough. And when she said that, and it reverberated through her entire brain, and she said it with this pained tone. It was painful for her to say that. She was in pain as she was saying that. I'm not good enough. And I felt that. I felt that to my core. Why do I believe that I'm not good enough? When did I start believing? When did I stop believing that I was good enough? Or when did I start believing that I wasn't good enough? I think there were a lot of things that happened as an older teenager that kind of started that. And I didn't make the volleyball team, and then I didn't make dance team, and I didn't get the part I wanted to get in a musical. When I got that application for the Naval Academy, and I remember looking at it and seeing all of the sports and activities and things like that that I was not a part of. When I marked my measly little 2 or 3 things that said I was in art club and French club, and ballet wasn't even on there. I had to write it in because it's not even considered a sport, even though it was the thing that lit me up, and that was a huge piece. Was like that application was like a demonstration of seeing that whole page after page after page of empty little bubbles, because it was literally like every sport listed, for 3 or 4 pages in a row of sports and activities and clubs and things that I was not involved in. And what it told me, silently told me, was that wasn't I wasn't good enough. I wasn't going to get in, that I didn't do enough. Clearly, like, that was the message that was to me, is that I wasn't good enough to go to the Naval Academy. So I threw my application away. I never even tried. And unfortunately, I didn't have a support system. It didn't let me quit. It didn't let me give up on what I wanted to do. I ended up joining the Navy anyway. I could have gone to the Naval Academy. Would have taken me on a different trajectory, a different course of my life. And not that I regret the course that I took, but that would have been a very different lesson for me. Had I had someone look at me and say, yeah, you know what? You didn't do those things, but these are the things that you did do, and you did them very well. And you speak very well, and you represent yourself very well, and you need to give yourself a shot. And if you don't get in, then at least you'll know. Instead, now I'm a 40-year-old woman who doesn't know if she would have gotten in or not if she had just tried. And now I will never know. I will never know if I would have gone to the Naval Academy and been accepted and gotten an appointment to one of the most prestigious schools in the country. Not only will I not know that, but it was like a chink in the armor of my knowledge of myself. So that way, when the time came and I actually, got a scholarship to Heron, to the art school, I already had that doubt. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to go to art school. I'm not good enough to make money with my art. I wasn't good enough to make money with my dancing. I wasn't good enough to make money with my singing. I wasn't good enough to support myself with my art or the thing. So it's basically everything that brought me joy, everything that made me me wasn't good enough. Even when I stepped foot into boot camp with a perfect ASVAB score, 99 is the highest score you can achieve on an ASVAB. You can't get any higher. I had the highest score you could possibly score on their entrance exam. And I still showed up to boot camp and stood there for an hour at attention waiting for somebody to make up their mind about what they wanted to do with me because of my weight. Because I was 3 pounds away from being over their limit. And so clearly I was a capable, smart, intelligent woman, but because my body was the shape that it was, I wasn't good enough. I barely squeaked by in getting accepted into the 900s division because my body was different. And that was the first message I received in the first couple of hours of me being in the military. It's that you're not good enough. Or you're barely good enough. You would be better if this was different, if your body was different, if this was different. Man, you got a set of brains on you, but wow, you're lazy. Literally, that's what they said to me. They said, clearly, you are smart, but I'm telling you what your problem is, Skags. You are fucking lazy. I don't know what to do with you. I'm taking a chance. I'm risking my reputation by putting you in this division. Don't let me down. That's what he said to me. Almost word for word. Obviously, it's been over 20 years since those words have been uttered to me. But that was pretty much the gist. And so now I spend the next 9 weeks of my life at boot camp afraid of failing, afraid of not being good enough, afraid of not being able to pass my PT test. I barely ate. I lost a lot of weight very quickly. I lost 30 pounds at boot camp. In 9 weeks, lost 30 pounds in 9 weeks. Absolutely insane and not good for your body at all. But wow, did I get the accolades because I did it, especially from people back home, my family, definitely. So no wonder I didn't think I was good enough. I was not even an adult. I was not even in my 20s. And I had already had messages from almost every single entity I had been associated with that I was not good enough. And so it felt like I was chasing this good enough version of me my whole life. Like I've been just 10 steps behind her every day. No matter how hard I run, no matter, figuratively or literally. Um, no matter how hard I run, no matter how hard I push myself, she is always out of reach. I don't know about you, but I'm tired. I am so sick and tired of this story. Of this story that tells me that I'm not good enough. Of this story that I continue to buy into. That I don't deserve to have my dreams, to have my joy, to have my freedom. Because of that tiny little voice inside that keeps saying, you're not good enough. You're not good enough to be a coach. You're not good enough to speak to these women. You're not good enough to call yourself a priestess. You're not good enough to be a wellness coach. You're not good enough to rely on your intuitive gifts. You're not good enough of an artist. You're not a good enough singer. You're not a good enough dancer. Those messages are still on repeat inside of me, and I have had enough. So what do you do about it? What do you do about that story that you have carried around like a freaking rucksack on the back of your shoulders for decades? What do you do with it? Well, gotta unpack it. You have to take it off. You have to unburden yourself. You have to remove the things that keep that story alive. What do you do with a plant that is choking out your garden? An invasive species that is that is choking the life out of the plants that you intended to grow. Well, you have to. You have to weed it. You have to get it out of your garden. And how do you pull weeds out of your garden? One fucking weed at a time. Thank you for sitting beside the fire with me today. Even though we can't see each other, I feel honored to have shared sacred space with you. Before you go, take a moment and notice how your body feels. If this reflection offered you something meaningful, pass it along to someone you'd love to sit beside the fire with. We heal in circles, not alone. So until the next show, remember, you are so worthy of your vibrant life. And I'll see you next time.